Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about the problem of invasive species in Utah and some possible solutions. And during the break right there, Pat Shea, who was at one time BLM director and is now a research professor of biology at the U, had mentioned an interesting way that we might be able to fight these invasive species given the budget cuts that we currently have. Pat?
Well, my roots are in Utah, and I think one of the things that distinguishes Utah is its ability to bring neighbors together to solve problems in the neighborhood. And the figure that came out the other day was how many unemployed teenagers we have. Less than 2 in 10 or 1 in 5 have a job, and it does seem to me we could organize at the city and county level some weed pools, and you'd obviously want to have some payment there, which is a budgetary problem, but you could get some competition between different high school groups and see that. And we did it in Elko, Nevada, when I was BLM director with great success. So I'd be interested in Aaron and Rob's thoughts as to that.
Almost like the old Civilian Conservation Corps.
Right.
Get them out there and get them working. What do you think, Rob?
Well, I think that's a great idea. They do volunteer programs. You look at Dinosaur National Monument. They have been working on the Green River and the other rivers that come through that monument, and they have hundreds of volunteers come down, float the river, and they pull weeds as they go. And they have salt cedar eradicated or almost eradicated. It is making a huge difference through there, just hand pulling. And it's easier to pull those out when they're little, and if you're pulling them out of sandbars, those kind of things, it's a lot easier than if you're trying to pull them out of some dry ground along the in a little higher country. But they had great success doing that, and on a volunteer basis. But we do need to look at those kind of things. If we can help these teenagers, it'd be a good thing to get them involved in nature again and see the concerns that are out there and how they can help address it. Teach them to work a little bit.
And away from the video game.
Away from the video game, yes.
Yep.
Do you think this will work on the local level too?
I do think so. In the past, we've had a couple programs like the Bag of Woad, where we've had people, actually students go and they'll pick Dyer's Woad and put it in a bag, and then based off of the weight, then the CWMA would actually pay them. And a lot of the scout groups and the choir groups who were trying to raise money so that they could go on there, they participated in that. I think we've had one in the past that was musk thistle, where we had students go out and cut the heads off, put them in a bag, and then they would go weigh it. I think if we had more programs like that, more money available to do that and energize the community, especially some of the youth organizations, it would be a good thing.
That amazes me what you said. You actually almost eradicated the salt cedar.
Yeah. One other suggestion, and this may seem strange, but prisoners have a lot of time on their hands, and if they're in minimum security and they're in the right situation, they can be asked, directed to do the same thing. And we had them as fire crews for many years until some problems arose because of liability questions. But that's another, whether it's the Utah County Jail or the state system, where we could begin using people to solve a shared problem.
So you've got the manpower possibly there. There's some manpower options. What about the dollar options? Would it be enough to cover programs like this? The $1 million that the state has?
Well, that actually has been appropriated for on-the-ground control. It doesn't necessarily say chemical control, so that might be something in the future that we could look at. The funding process is already closed for this year, and we're going to award that money soon, but probably something that could be talked about for next year.
But you know, Terry, the one thing I'm a firm believer on is your check-off on your state taxes. I think we have not effectively used that to raise money for shared community kind of problems. It's a voluntary act, but you could raise, I think, a significant amount of money if people understood it really is a silent fire that threatens their well-being and their watershed, and begin to have some voluntary funds put together.
That's a great term, the silent fire, and I think if the word gets out, such as programs like this, and if you tell your neighbors and friends about this issue we're discussing today, perhaps that is something that people would start to check off on their taxes.
Yeah, and I think that could be something, especially in areas where there's sensitivities with chemical usage, you know, along waterways or those kind of things. If you could have people out doing that kind of hand pull, that can make a big difference. You know, some of these perennial weeds, you have to pull them frequently, but it would be good.
Yeah. My own yard's been a big enough problem. I know what you mean. We'll be back in a moment to wrap things up and possibly even mention another solution.
unlimited opportunity for adventure. It's all about knowing where to look. Join us in Fillmore for the National ATV Jamboree June 25th through 30th. Explore the Paiute ATV Trail with 30 different rides offered that will take you and your family through a range of terrain, geology, and history. Pick your adventure in Millard County.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, ghost towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco kilns, horse racing, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away. Some people just live life. Others turn life into a great adventure. The only difference is where they choose to experience it. Come to Uinta County, Utah, where business, recreation, just life in general. Move from the mundane to the magnificent. Come to learn. Come to play. Come and do more than just live life. Uinta County. Find out what you're missing in undiscovered Utah.